Alright, YouTube, time for Occult Literature video number 2, A Tract of Great Price, a second alchemical work, very much unlike the first. This one is only 25 pages in length. It was a manuscript, not really a booklet per se, as we might term it now. And I want to read you a passage from it because and I can do that because I'm the editor, so legally speaking I can. It more or less frames the entire rest of the work. So I'm going to read you a brief passage here, a paragraph, and then expound upon it a little bit further. And as always, link in the description both to my books blog and to the specific link on Amazon where you can purchase my specific edition of this work. For those interested in alchemy, it's a necessary work perhaps. And since in those places where mountains were formed the heat of the sun must have been most powerful, and earthly moisture rich and most plentiful, it is there that we find the most precious metals. Where the earth remained plain, this steam did not succeed in raising up mountains, it escaped, and the earth, being deprived of its moisture, was hardened into rocks. Where the earth was poor, soft, and thin, it is now covered with sand and a few stones, because it never had much moisture, and, having been deprived of the little it possessed, has now become sandy and dry and incapable of retaining moisture. No earth was changed into rocks that was not rich, viscous, and well saturated with moisture. For when the heat of the sun has sucked up its moisture, the richness of the earth still makes it cohere, although now it has become hard and dry, and earth that is not yet perfectly hard is even at the present time undergoing a change into hard stones through the diligent working of nature. Now, why is this important? This shows a primordial but extremely advanced understanding. This was written in the 1400s. It shows an extreme level of sophistication where it comes to natural processes. Specifically, if we look back not that long before this very, very early Enlightenment era, we find that people regard the earth more or less as static and unchanging. That is, everything has been cosmically and divinely willed into place. And there's really no change over time. Of course, there was no theory of evolution at this time either. The concept that the Earth changed in some dramatic, in some actual observable fashion was fairly new at the time. You go back into the high Middle Ages, you don't really get people even caring about the subject. However, within alchemy, this is one of the going trends at the time, was the concept that moisture being drawn up through the earth, especially through open spaces like tunnels and caves, is the generator of metals, is the generator of what man determined to be valuable materials, especially in its purest form, gold and also silver, mercury, sulfur. We have alchemical works that explicitly list the generative force behind the growing of gemstones and metals and so forth as being literally nothing more than a compressed sun-warmed vapor. That is, the sun is raining down, it's going through the earth, and it's generating these sort of vapors. You could say in a way this is kind of right. Some chemical interactions do rely upon cosmic rays in some form or another, the chemotrophs down there that undergo these processes and do create weird vapors in caves and so forth. Not exactly quite on the mark when it comes to modern chemistry. This is more of a philosophical work, like Ficinus' work. This is not on the experimental, this is how to generate sorcerer's stone, this is how to make such and such an elixir, here's a method for making fake gold out of tin or whatever. This isn't like that. This is more of an authentic philosophical work within the concept of alchemy. Again, it's 25 pages long. It's not a particularly large tract, and several of those pages are illustrations, specifically of alchemical symbols. However, I would still recommend it because you're getting a look at alchemy from an even earlier time period. A lot of the works we recognize within alchemy, they're 1500s, 1600s, into the early 1700s. This comes from the 1400s. It's one of the early wave of works regarding the generation of these materials. If a person wishes to understand the more purest basis of alchemy, then you need to go back to that earlier period. It can't all be, here's how-to guide on making the sorcerer's stone. Of course, the philosophical works, whether early or late, often refute the latter. Specifically because the latter, the modern understanding of like the creation of gold, we would look at Nicholas Flamel sort of mythology, we would even look at Harry Potter. The concept of the use of this particular type of sorcery as being specifically interested in transmutation was then New Agery. It was literally their form of New Agery as opposed to the philosophical, the natural science, which simply stressed the generation, the processes within the earth, within nature that created things, and an attempt to replicate those in what we could consider a crude laboratory setting to create similar materials. Of course, they never quite got it to work because gold is an element. They did manage to create a very large variety of compounds and medicines, and this is where chemistry is directly taken from. Their understanding of these interactions form the basis of all modern science. We should really give them more credit, perhaps, than many times we do. But yes, if you would like to purchase this work, there is a link in the description. There's also a link to my books blog, where this and many other works are compiled together and available. I will be doing various maintenance on my blog. I realize it's not quite in a perfect format. It's good without being great, and I want to change that. So this is a work of alchemy, a tract of great price, considering the generation of metals from within the earth. Very good work. Unknown author. We don't exactly know who wrote it. Some anonymous sage, I suppose. That's about all. Peace out.